Hope everyone is doing well today. Today's Father's Day. Doing this lesson before go back into actual church, but I did want to keep doing these videos just based off of the feedback. People are really enjoying them and growing from them, and definitely don't want to alleviate that. So today, I want to focus on the impact of fathers. Obviously, today's topic today is called viewed, valued, and validated. It does happen to be Father's Day. Fathers present how a child is viewed, valued, and validated. Studies show that fathers are vital to the growth of women. It shows that daughters are impacted by the relationship with their father and that will impact all of their future relationships with men. They will have an example of how a man is to treat them, or they will look for a void to be filled by a male. I can attest, as a man that has dated a number of women without fathers, that the lack of fathers is imperative. Um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that and let you use your imagination to fill in the rest there. Not only the lack of fathers also affect men. Not only do these men not know how to treat a woman most times, not only do they usually have problems with authority, they become 5 times more likely to commit a violent crime and 10 times more likely to go to prison. They also usually struggle spiritually. Studies show that men without fathers have a harder time with their Christian walk, even if their mother took them to church every Sunday. They have no reference of an earthly father, yet they are told that there was a father in the sky that loves them and cares for them. Yet their father on earth has not shown them love or care. But today I want us to focus on our Heavenly Father and how He views, values, and validates us. Because my dream would be for all men to be great fathers and for the women to choose great men that can and will be great fathers. The first aspect we are going to look at is value. I want to start off with a story. A father, before he died, said to his son, "This is a watch your grandfather gave to me, and it is more than 200 years old. But before I give it to you, go to the watch shop on First Street and tell him I want to sell it, and see how much he offers you." He went and then came back to his father and said, "The watchmaker offered me $5 because it's old." He said to him, "Go to the pawn shop." He went back. He went and came back and said, "The pawn shop offered me $100, father." He said, "Go to the museum and show them that watch." He went and came back and said to his father, "They offered me $1,000,000 for this piece." The father said, "I wanted to let you know that the right place values you the right way. Don't find yourself in the wrong place and get angry if you're not valued. Those that know your value and those who appreciate you don't stay in a place where nobody sees your value." Again, I have seen so many women stay in relationships where men don't value them, and vice versa. But how could those men value them? They weren't godly men. And I'm not saying that they claim to be Christian, but I'm talking about actually godly men. If a man isn't godly, then he can't treat you the way that you desire to be treated. It isn't in his nature. But never stay at a place that doesn't see your value. You know who always sees your value? Your Father who art in heaven. So there's a metaphor that I like to do about orange juice and apple juice. And so most people have a preference between orange juice and apple juice, so they like one more than the other. But sometimes you start to get oranges and juice them and expect apple juice to come out. That's how we're doing with some people in our lives that aren't valuing us the right way, or you aren't getting the value that you are looking for, because you're looking for something that can't produce it. You're looking for a man to treat you godly when they aren't a godly man. It's not possible. You have to know your worth. We have to stop looking for value in the wrong person. We have to stop giving people discounts on us. We have to stop acting like we're on the dollar menu. Matthew chapter 10, verse 29 through 31 says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows." If he cared about the sparrow, I know that he cares for me. Our godliness is value. And he said those sparrows are cheap. You know, we aren't cheap. We are extremely valuable. We have to believe in that. We have to walk in that. First Timothy chapter 4, 7 through 8 says, have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourself to be godly. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. Our godliness is valuable above some things, right? No, it says all things. Our godliness is valuable above all things. Let us look at the next aspect. So we did value. Now I want to look at viewed. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 17 states that we are new creations. We are not viewed for our past selves. God no longer viewed Paul for his pre-Damascus behavior. Colossians 3 verse 3 states that we died and that our lives are hidden in God. So that old you that you used to be is now hidden in God. Galatians chapter 3 verse 26 says that we are now sons of God through faith. God views us as children. Jesus views us as his siblings. He views us as friends. And when he said, this is how you pray, he said, our Father. He was adopting us into the family. And he told his disciples, I no longer call you servants in John chapter 15, verse 15. What does no longer implicate? It means that he did view them and call them servants. And he says, I no longer call you this. I no longer view you as servants, but now you're my friends. You're my family. Most importantly, he views us as healed, prosperous, and with sound mind. Sarah in the Bible was viewed as a barren woman, yet God viewed her as the mother of all nations. People saw a poor shepherd when they viewed David, but the Lord didn't view David as a poor shepherd. He viewed him as a mighty king. Joseph in the Old Testament was a prisoner. God viewed him as a ruler of Egypt. Don't let the current predicament that you're in weigh you down. If you had told these three people I just mentioned what their futures entailed, they wouldn't believe you. When Sarah was told about her near future, she laughed. You cannot get caught up in where you are at. You also should not laugh or put your mouth on your future negatively when someone is speaking life to you. You also need to speak positively when someone tries to speak negatively on your life. You know, like when people give us compliments, we always try to deflect or bounce the compliment back, or I'm not as good as you, or I'm just trying to get like you are. We have to start accepting compliments. We have to start accepting that positivity that is being spoken into our lives. I want to tell this nice story. It's about a football player named Lamar Jackson. He was a quarterback in college. And all the experts, every draft expert, NFL expert would say they need to change his position so that he can because he won't be able to play quarterback in the NFL. They need to change to a running back or wide receiver and let him play there. But his mom said no. His mom said he's a quarterback and he's going to be a great quarterback. On draft night, him and his mom were waiting and waiting and waiting for his name to be called. They waited a long time. If you look up a photo, if you put in Lamar Jackson draft night photo, you'll see empty chairs behind him because all the other people that sitting at the other chairs had been drafted already. All these players got drafted before him, but he is now rated as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was last year's NFL MVP. I'm sure other teams wish they could go back in time and pick him to be their quarterback. I know my team would definitely love to have him as a quarterback. So, when you are successful, then you will receive negative comments sometimes. They played against the team, Lamar Jackson and his team. The other team's commentator said that it was so hard to guard Lamar Jackson because of the color of his skin. They said that the ball in his hands were the same color, so it was hard to know where the ball went. So that's how he was able to fake out so many defenders. So what did Lamar Jackson do the next game? He wore white gloves. Just to show a point, like, no, I'm good all the time, not just because of this color of my skin. I'm good because I'm good. They asked Lamar Jackson, how do you stay so humble and continue to with everyone pushing down on you? How do you continue to stay humble and go forward? And his response was so quick and so strong, and he said, the Lord. Let's continue on our next aspect to focus on, validation. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth. Psalm chapter 37 verse 6 says, He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 4. On the contrary, we speak as men approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We are not trying to please men, but God who tests our hearts. So we are validated. We are approved by God. It says, fathers, do not lead your children to wrath. It's a clear reason why he is giving this call to fathers, right? Because fathers have a very key aspect. We're supposed to train up those children. You know, when that's the people quote that verse all the time, Solomon is talking to his son. When he writes that, he's talking to other men. He's saying you need to train up your child the way they need to go. When he says spare the rod, he's talking to the father. Colossians chapter 3, verse 18 through 21. Wives, submit to your husbands. Everybody knows that verse and everybody stops there, but let's continue it. As is fitting to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. So first of all, let's go through this whole section. You see it says your own husband, not someone else's husband. Other interpretations reads, husbands, do not take advantage of your wives' submission. That's another sermon. But it says, fathers, do not discourage your children. Other interpretations say, do not break your child's spirits. They want validation from us. We have to give them that. That's our job as fathers. Happy Father's Day. It's our job as fathers to validate our children. We are the reason for the season. We celebrate the birth of Christ all the time. But God so loved the people of the world that he gave his son, a great father, right? God always used great fathers in the Bible. Abraham and Isaac, Jacob and Joseph, Joseph of the New Testament, and Jesus. Now, people always talk about Mary being chosen. You know, there's a whole religion that elevates Mary so high because she was chosen by God. But Joseph was chosen as well. Because God could have just let Joseph go on about his business because Joseph wanted to leave, remember? He said, I'll divorce her quietly. I won't put her out there, you know, let everybody know what's going on. But, you know, I'm not about to raise somebody else's child. God had to send an angel to visit Joseph so that he would stay. So Joseph was chosen as well. And it was very key and important that Joseph be there. Because Joseph wasn't trying to be talked about for marrying a pregnant chick. But God wanted Joseph in Jesus' life. Jesus followed in Joseph's career footsteps. He learned precision and attention to detail and hard work. He learned the value of a finished product. Your role is important, whether you are a biological father or you're filling the role as a father. We can learn from Joseph's example here. Even if things aren't going the greatest, then that's fine. Jesus said, come to me, those who are weary, and I will give you rest. He didn't say come to when you were killing it and when everything is going great. He wants you to come to him. Our Father, who art in heaven, is here to value us. He views us as more than conquerors, and he has validated us with his son's blood. Let us follow his example. You guys have a great day. Happy Father's Day. Love you all. Bye.